This program is a presentation of University of California Television. Your support makes UCTV's programming possible. Contribute online at uctv.tv/support. Check out our YouTube original channel, UCTV Prime, at youtube.com/UCTV Prime. Subscribe today to get new programs every week.
UCLA is a university with unlimited possibilities for students that desire world-class academics and research, unmatched diversity, incredible cultural and social opportunities, successful alumni and career networking, first-class campus facilities, plus America's top intercollegiate sports teams. Located in Westwood, just a few miles from the Pacific Ocean, UCLA's 1 square mile campus is surrounded by famous cities such as Bel Air, Beverly Hills, Brentwood, and Santa Monica.
Hi again, everybody. This is John Ramey, voice of UCLA baseball and soccer, and welcome to Bruin Talk. I'm pinch hitting today for my great friends Dave Marcus and Allison Taylor. We have a galaxy of stars from the UCLA Bruins family to visit with today, but first let's take a look at some of the upcoming events here at UCLA. Our first guest today is Taylor Swearingen, now in his 4th year with the Wooden Athletic Fund. He is a Bruin alumnus and an enthusiastic member of the development team. Taylor, welcome to Bruin Talk.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to be here, and just a thrill for me to be working on campus at my alma mater and supporting our student athletes. So thanks for having me.
Now, I know firsthand that this is not just a job for you. This is a pure passion. We visited in baseball seasons past, especially in the postseason. It gets better every year, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and you know, for me and I think everyone on our development team, it's really meaningful to be at a place like UCLA that's just a tremendous institution, and you're always in awe of what all of our student athletes and coaches are able to accomplish out there. And if I wasn't a fan, I don't know if it'd have the same meaning to me that it does, and it's truly a pleasure to be out there and do whatever I can to support what they're doing.
Now, before we get to your role, which is of critical importance, you guys are the money men for the athletics department. What did you study here at UCLA?
I studied both history and political science during my undergrad time, and I also studied the athletic department while I was in school at UCLA, and had the privilege of serving as a student intern in our marketing office while I was an undergrad, and really learning about the industry of college athletics and all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that, you know, maybe the casual observer doesn't see, but is really critically important to the success that you do see out on the field.
The perception is it's summertime, and so everybody involved with collegiate athletics has the summer off, right? Because school isn't in session, but we know that's not true. So what do you do during the summertime to get ready for the very busy fall season?
Yeah, that's exactly what the summer is for us, is really a time of preparation to look ahead to the upcoming year. And, you know, first and foremost, we're looking at the upcoming football season and all the fall sports we have going on, but also, as I'm sure all of our UCLA supporters know, the big event coming up for UCLA Athletics and really the whole campus is the reopening of Pauley Pavilion. That'll be taking place in October, and then our first game November 9th. So that's kind of first and foremost on our mind right now, and in making sure that we're prepared for that and ready to go for our fans when they come out in the fall.
Now that building was built in great part due to John Wooden and his magnificent success here at Westwood. You have his name on the fund you work for. How does that tie in specifically with the new Pauley Pavilion and how you go about your job?
Well, above all else, it's an honor to be able to represent his legacy and continue on all the ideals that he instilled in UCLA and really the entire world about what it means to be a coach and a teacher and all of that permeates everything we do at UCLA. That, you know, it's a tremendous tool for us to be able to bring that to our supporters and really illustrate the meaning of their support when they donate to UCLA Athletics, that it is carrying on his legacy and our current athletes. And we talk about invest in tomorrow's champions today with the Wooden Athletic Fund, and that's truly what supporting the Wooden Athletic Fund does, is make an investment in our student athletes now and what they can become tomorrow for UCLA and the entire world.
Did you meet Coach Wooden?
I met him one time, just very briefly. It was a team reunion for one of the championship teams. I think it was maybe 1969 championship team. And but the truly incredible thing is, in talking with all of our supporters, the number of people that had a personal connection to Coach Wooden, that you'd be easy to think that someone of that stature and magnitude, you know, might be above everyone. And there's so many people I hear from that, you know, he spent half an hour with my son when he was 5 years old, or those little stories about Coach Wooden and the way that he really was, you know, an individual teacher of everyone that he met. And, you know, I'm always amazed by that.
Let's talk about the goals this year for development with regard to UCLA athletics. How do you set those goals and how do you achieve them?
Well, this is absolutely a critical time for fundraising at UCLA, and, you know, certainly with the capital project we've undertaken at Pauley Pavilion, that's the greatest undertaking in the history of UCLA athletics and the UCLA campus for a facility of that nature. And so we're racing toward the finish line in terms of completing that project, but also in terms of our annual support with the Wooden Athletic Fund, looking to grow that by close to 50% for this upcoming year. And it really is a testament to the great fans and supporters that we have, that, you know, they are jumping on board with you know, all of the new programs we have going on and getting involved with Pauley Pavilion and season tickets, and all of it really goes back to supporting the student athletes, which is huge for us.
Now, let's say somebody's watching this right now. Maybe they have not heard of or have been reminded of the Wooden Athletic Fund. How do you contribute? What's the easiest way to do it?
Well, first and foremost, it's something that we want every UCLA fan to be a supporter of. That, you know, you think a lot when you're sitting at home watching TV and all that you're supporting the Bruins. Well, that next step is to invest in the program, and that's what the Wooden Athletic Fund offers the opportunity to do, in that if you're someone maybe that doesn't even come to games, you can support from afar. You could be in New York City or Iowa and give a gift to the Wooden Athletic Fund. And then also for folks that are in the area, supporting the Wooden Athletic Fund gives you great access to our program, that we every day try to offer the best amenities we have at UCLA Athletics, be that tickets, parking, all that, to folks that do support our Wooden Athletic Fund and make a difference for our program. So there's really the opportunity at every level to be involved with the Wooden Athletic Fund, from $100 all the way up to $1 million, and, you know, you can make a difference with whatever your contribution might be.
We talk about the Wooden Athletic Fund and Coach Wooden. Is it required reading for folks on the team to read "They Call Me Coach," or do you have the pyramid of success somewhere prominently displayed?
Well, I think there's probably not an office anywhere in the UCLA Athletic Department that doesn't have the pyramid of success in it. And I mean, our Wooden Athletic Fund logo has that pyramid right on there. So every day, every email I send, I see that pyramid at the bottom of it. And, you know, I have motivational quotes around, and one that I keep on the bottom of my computer screen just to think about every day is that little things make big things happen. And there's 1,000 quotes like that from Coach Wooden, but I think about that one, and every day you can focus on a lot of little things that will help make UCLA a better place and help our student athletes be more successful. And it's easy to get bogged down in those little things, but they do make a difference in the end of the day. So,
in all your time here at UCLA, what's the most memorable or exciting moment so far for you?
Well, certainly in my time at UCLA, the focus of our development team and really the entire department has been toward the project at Pauley Pavilion and moving through that process. So I'm very much looking forward to this fall when we are going to reopen the building. But certainly as a part of that, the reseeding effort for Pauley Pavilion, where we were able to interact with so many of our supporters and take them through the process of a very important decision for them of where they're going to sit in the new building when we reopen Pauley Pavilion. And it was just very exciting for me to be able to play a role in that and really help steward our supporters into the new building at Pauley.
How did you decide this is what you wanted to do after you completed your studies here?
Well, I think it started probably when I was maybe about 5 years old and just loved everything about athletics and competition and what that meant, and competed throughout high school as an athlete. And
what sports?
I was a varsity athlete in soccer and baseball in high school. Unfortunately, UCLA's programs here are a little bit too successful to have a kid like me out there competing. So, at UCLA, I didn't compete as a student athlete, but always had an eye on the athletic program. And as I mentioned earlier, had the opportunity to get involved as an intern with our marketing office while I was a student here. And, we really kind of looked around the department at the different areas like sports information and marketing and development to kind of see what I thought maybe was the most meaningful to me and to the program. And that's sort of what led me down the development path, in that, it's a tremendously important revenue stream for our department, but also really love the individual interaction that you get to have with, all of our greatest supporters of the program. And you get to meet them individually and be an ally to them in terms of helping them support the program and do the things that are meaningful to them. So that's kind of how it came to be for me.
Now, you mentioned you played soccer and baseball in high school, and those just happen to be the two sports that I call. So what's your favorite sport to watch the Bruins play?
Well, definitely enjoy being at the Rose Bowl every Saturday in the fall, I think, as all UCLA supporters do. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for Jackie Robinson Stadium right across the 405 here, and get to as many games as I can over there. I think if anybody here is watching and hasn't been to Jackie Robinson Stadium, you should absolutely get out there next spring. I call it a hidden gem of Los Angeles. That it's just a beautiful venue. You look out on that pristine grass, and it's like you're not even in the hustle and bustle of LA. You're just watching a ball game, and not to mention what Coach Savage has done with our program, and you're going to see some great baseball too.
What's the biggest change you've viewed, or maybe you've perceived, since coming to UCLA, first as a student and now as a professional?
Well, you see all around campus the new buildings going up all the time. Pauley Pavilion's being transformed. We're right now doing work on the turf surface at Spalding Field to update that for our student athletes. So that type of change is constant. But the one thing that is amazing to me is just how through it all of our programs sustain incredible excellence in a lot of the sports that you take for granted. That when somebody finishes second in something, it's a little disappointing at UCLA. You kind of have to take a deep breath and realize, wow, out of the entire nation, they just finished second. So it's just incredible to be around all of that. And I think the change, it never impacts the excellence of UCLA, which is incredible.
All right, and finally, your prediction for the Nebraska game. What's the score going to be?
Well, the score's, it's going to be maybe close, but I definitely like the Bruins in that one, and I definitely like a great atmosphere out there at the Rose Bowl, and can't wait for the start of Jim Mora football and UCLA football this fall. So
he is Mr. Optimism. He is Taylor Swearingen, the Associate Director of the Wooden Athletic Fund. Thanks so much for being with us on Bruin Talk.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with the Athlete of the Week. Stay with us right here on Bruin Talk.
A trophy can be made just about anywhere. But there's one place where champions are made. UCLA. Champions meet here.
Welcome back to Bruin Talk. Time now to honor the Athlete of the Week. This week we honor Amy Acuff for being only the 6th track and field athlete and the 2nd Bruin in history to make 5 separate Olympic Games. She is our Athlete of the Week. After finishing 3rd in high jump at the U.S. Olympic trials in Eugene, Acuff has qualified for her 5th Olympic Games. She has competed in the last 4 consecutive games. She finished 4th overall in 2004 in Athens. She is also a 6-time USA Outdoor Champion, a 5-time Olympian, a 5-time U.S. Indoor Champion, 3-time NCAA Indoor Champion, 2-time NCAA Outdoor Champ, and the 1997 World University Games Champion. Congratulations, Amy, and good luck in London. If you'd like more information on Amy or any of the UCLA Bruin athletes, past and present, be sure to visit uclabruins.com. Our next guest here on Bruin Talk is one of our most distinguished guests, Dr. Berkey Nelson. He has published 2 books. He is a professor of African American Studies here at UCLA. You're also overseeing Greek life, and you're a representative with regard to student government. That's quite a lot on your plate, and you've recently added athletics. Tell us about your role with the athletics department.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be at UCLA for almost 35 years. And athletics was a very, very important part of my life. My sons were athletes Division I level, and I competed at the Division I level. And what I recognized upon reflection was that athletics give you far more than just whether you win or lose. Rather, it prepares you for life. And so I decided that in the twilight of my career at UCLA, that I wanted to share some of the lessons I learned from athletics after my athletic career was over. And so I've come here to impart how training and how discipline in athletics is a carryover to whatever you do in the future. And so that's what I'm here to try to help students understand.
Well, one of the 2 books you published specifically talks about black leadership in the 20th century, and certainly Jackie Robinson's legacy here at UCLA is a part of that 20th century leadership. How does that inform some of the messages that you bring to today's student athletes?
Well, one of the things that's very interesting about UCLA is Jackie Robinson and other athletes have been instrumental, very instrumental in mitigating the racial divide that has been so deeply ensconced in our society. And Robinson was simply the most known athlete who did this, but there were others as well who made their mark, helping to change American society for the better. And so when I look at leadership, I look at it critically, and I wish there were more contemporary leaders like Jackie Robinson, who was very, very instrumental in bringing civil rights to American society.
How do you respond to criticisms that the NCAA today, with its multi-billion-dollar television deals and advertising revenues and all the rest, are a sad continuation of a tragic American tradition of free and mostly black labor?
That's a very interesting question. My response to that would be this. The good thing that the NCAA has done is to come up with criteria that students must pass in order to be an athlete. Without that, I'm afraid that students would not take the requisite courses, would not work to get the kind of grades, and would not work to meet the SAT or ACT requirements to become eligible to play. So in that respect, the NCAA has done something very, very significant as far as keeping those students who have the ability to compete at the highest level to do so. That being said, I would certainly like to see the NCAA, with the millions of dollars it makes, to pour some of this money into the schools, public schools, because everyone cannot be an athlete. Everyone does not have the the talent to compete at the certain level. But there are others who do have other talents. And if the NC2A could turn some of that money into inner city schools from where many of our athletes originate, then that would help society as a whole. So I see athletics as a means to an end rather than the end in itself. And if athletics can be used to broaden its touch with the larger society, so be it. And that would also be true for the professional sports as well. I think a lot more money from the professional leagues could be poured into those areas from whence many of the athletes originate.
You mentioned 35 years, correct, at UCLA?
Yes.
What has been, at least so far, the most rewarding aspect of your tenure?
I derive pleasure from being with young men and women who are the best and the brightest that the state and the nation can offer. I've always told students I probably learn more from them than they learn from me. So the pleasure I have is to be able to impart some of my experiences and knowledge to these young people who seem to take this and go to unbelievable limits.
Bringing it back a little bit to athletics here, you competed in the 400-meter hurdles as a student. You were a finalist in the NCAAs as a student, and then later you were a champion in the Masters division. What was that experience like, and how has that informed your professorial career?
Running track, I went to a small school in Pennsylvania, and at that time, they didn't have any distinctions between Division I, II, or III. But the thing that I learned from that experience was that I couldn't sleep the night before. And I was asking myself, do I go win, place, or show? And I said, if I don't try to win, and this is a one-time only deal, then I'll regret it the rest of my life. So that's what I did. I went for broke. And the lesson I learned from that I try to impart to students is that you go for it. You go for it, because you can't look back and say, I wish I did this or did that. No, go for it. Push yourself to your ultimate limits. And it kind of paid off when I became 40 because I was training and I pushed myself to my limits and I won. So the lesson to be learned is that you can't be afraid to fail. The failure is if you don't do your absolute best. You put it all on the field. And if you do that, you look back and you say, darn it, I did my best. And that's what I try to get the young people to understand. Go for it. If you don't take a chance, obviously you're not going to win anything.
Well, you went for it and published in 2003 a book called The Rise and Fall of Modern Black Leadership, Chronicle of a 20th Century Tragedy. That is an interesting title to me in that the 20th century contains some of the most soaring advances of the black community in this country and places around the world, and that took great leadership. So explain what that book was about and what inspired it.
The book was inspired by the Regent's decision to do away with affirmative action in 1995. And the person spearheading this was Conley. And I was concerned because there didn't seem to be many African-American leaders really challenging what he had done. So I asked myself a question, what's happened? Why is this the case? And what was initially an article about the 1990s became a book, because I said, this didn't happen in the 1990s. There has to be a history. So I went back to the 1890s and traced this all the way up into 2000 to see just what African American leaders had done over the course of the century. It was a book I wrote of passion. There is certainly my interpretation in it. Everybody might not agree, but I do feel that I gave an honest shot to explain what African American leaders have been over the course of the century. And that's before Obama became president, but that's another story.
Sure. I want to touch on consciousness of self, because there is an existing narrative today, a critique of current-day black athletes when juxtaposed with the Jackie Robinsons, the Lou Alcindors, the Muhammad Alis, that the phrase famously uttered by Michael Jordan, that Republicans buy shoes too, has caused perhaps, so the narrative goes, the modern or the current-day black athlete to be less outspoken, to be less racially conscious. Do you think that's reflective of your consciousness of self, or do you think that's just kind of the way things are done on the big stage of big-time sports now?
That's a very good question, and I do think it's consciousness of self. When you understand that pro football players are broke after 5 years after retirement, I'm sorry, 2 years after retirement, and pro basketball players 2 years after retirement, that means they are spending money on self-gratifying areas. Now, that's not everybody. Of course, we don't hear that many stories about those who establish boys and girls clubs, about those who visit hospitals.
The headlines aren't as good.
Yeah, headlines aren't as good. So we do get these negative things. But that being said, when I think in terms of those people who have gone broke, they have not gone broke because they gave all their money away to charity. And I think that what has also happened is that the racial divide is not as overt as it had been in the past. And so people feel, well, I don't worry about these racial issues. I can do what I need to do for me. Whereas if you go back to Jackie Robinson's time, and you move, even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor, who founded basically the Black Students Association here at UCLA, there was that great deal of consciousness because the racism just stared you right in the face. And I think since that has receded somewhat, people don't have the race consciousness that they had 50, 75, 100 years ago. And as a consequence, people tend to think in terms of, well, I'm doing this, I worked hard, I did this for me, and this is what I'm doing, without recognizing that, no, you're standing on the shoulders of a whole lot of other people who had made sacrifices to allow you to get into the situation. I remember when the NBA was basically all white. And as an historian, I feel bad that most Americans, black Americans in particular, don't know much about the history. It is not discussed, and if they knew more about the history, then they could be a lot more understanding and appreciative of the forefathers and mothers, and they hopefully would be able to do more things for people today. I know young people want to be rap artists, they want to be athletes, they see that as the only way out, and they miss the point where education is the key, because it's easier to become a heart surgeon than it is to become a star in the NBA.
I wish we had more time. Dr. Berkey Nelson, one of the great intellectual treasures here in Westwood at UCLA, thank you so much for being a part of a Bruin Talk today. Thanks for joining us here on Bruin Talk today. We look forward to our next meeting. So long.